friends. This is Niketa Dedhia, and today we're going to talk about success. Success to its finest level, success of the pinnacle. What exactly is success? When an entire sector becomes synonymous with a name, is success for a company. And what are we talking about? The details look like this. A company that has a presence in 220 countries of the world. Yes, 220 countries with more than 700 aircrafts in its fleet, close to 300,000 employees under its wings, and over 100 billion US dollars in turnover. The sector is global supply chain, and the company, you've guessed it right, it's FedEx. Not just in my home, but in hundreds and thousands of homes across the world, we always say, let's get this FedEx. Can you FedEx this parcel for me? So we're going to talk about FedEx and the person who has been the pioneering instrument in shaping the company to where it is. It is my proud privilege to introduce to you Randy O'Neill Smith. Randy O'Neill has been international IT manager for FedEx for more than 2 decades. He has handled a plethora of roles, jobs, and responsibilities within that. He's just managed not just multi-million-dollar budgets, but also a huge volume of daily transactions if you look in from the IT perspective, the IT service-oriented architecture, and has focused on business process reengineering. Now you must be confused because I introduced Randy as an IT expert, and here I'm talking about all of these aspects. Yes, you've heard that right. Randy is that person or that phenomena who many years before understood the new age business, where he understood that IT expert, yes, he's an IT expert with so many techniques, skills, and talents, but geared towards one particular sector or a combination of complementary sectors. So I welcome Randy Smith to ECS STEM series with Stalwarts, and it's going to be a pleasure interacting with you in this interview. Hello, Randy.
Hello, and thanks for the invite.
Super. Randy, can you please tell us the importance of being in the IT sector, but garnered towards a field by itself? You come from IT, but all your expertise has been in global supply chain, business process reengineering, custom clearance. Can you tell that to us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It'd be very detailed to get into everything, but I think coming from the business, I actually came from the business side of the house. So I had the opportunity to set a lot of those business processes in place with FedEx, clearing freight from all over the world. We were very heavy in Asia and Canada and Europe for a long time, and I actually played the role of a customs broker, clearing the freight with customs and agriculture and Food and Drug Administration. At that point, about the mid-90s is when we decided there was no way we could do it manually. There was just no way. Everything had to be automated. So we got to the task of analyzing not only customs processes and procedures, but FDA's processes and procedures, as well as agriculture. And then we had to go around the world, and I'll always remember this, and this biggest joy I've ever had with FedEx is I got to travel all over the world. And we actually did the analysis of how do you clear packages in and out of customs across, I did 17 different countries, mostly based in Asia, and then a lot of them based in Europe. So coming to IT, when I finally was requested to come into IT as a business principal, was when I found out exactly how much better I could do my job supporting the business side of the house if I was on the IT side of the house and helping them understand the business problems we're trying to solve. So that's kind of how I got into it from a standpoint of now I'm in IT. And I did spend 25 years in the IT side of the house, but always working with my business partners. They were partners. We were 100% joined at the arms in making us a successful organization.
That's brilliant to know that coming from the business side of it, but focusing on IT to make the company work. And you've been, I mean, you've been there from the scratch of when things were automated, as you mentioned. Can you also highlight on the, because custom clearance, business process reengineering are fields that people are not aware so much about. So can you throw some light on the opportunities that these fields have? You can handle them individually or collaborative. I'm talking about international global supply chain to business process reengineering, custom brokerage, custom regulations, because this is a field which is so less saturated and has so much opportunities, but people are not aware. So can you throw some light on it?
Well, when you go into different countries, which I had the ability to go into countries and do the analysis before we even started sometimes, you always got your business partners together. And what I mean by the FedEx business partners, you brought customs into meetings. They were very happy to have meetings before you get started. And people forget, they think customs is this, all-encompassing, want to not keep you from doing your job. It's completely opposite. They want you to do the job better, so their job is easier. So getting them on the ground floor with you is the way to do business, especially any other regulatory agencies that may be governing different specifics. So working with hand in hand with customs and our business partners, understanding their systems, how do you interface with their systems, how do you interface with their regulations? We'd have to make sure we have not only the proper product information from those countries, because all product information, years ago in 1990, everybody went to the harmonized tariff schedule. Basically, all modern countries went to what they call the harmonized tariff schedule, which allowed all of our systems to work together in a numeric way of thinking. But the textual way of thinking could be different. So you had to analyze all aspects of that. Everything, countervailing duties are different by countries. You have to understand how they collect their duties and taxes. You have to understand what was the people that you could not deliver to. So there's a lot of list of people that you cannot ship with or ship from into specific countries. Gathering all that data before you start, before you even think about starting, how do you automate an interface, is the way I think FedEx became very successful in making any country went into pretty smooth. Everybody has their hiccups for a little bit, but our hiccups were only a couple of weeks. And then, we did our job pretty well at that point.
You did mention about some of the problems, but can you actually highlight on some of the challenges, like really tough challenges that you had to face, and eventually they became a stepping stone for the next level of success?
Again, if you think about it, the biggest challenge we had, even though we have something called the harmonized system, which is tariff schedules only, all coding is different from the standpoint of interface coding to these countries. Well, back in, I would say, 97, 98, the world standards came out with what data looks like in the transportation field. So once that standardized sets of data that were given to across the board, customs having to change their systems at the same time we change our system would be one of the hardest things we had to deal with. And during about a decade period of time, like everybody transitioned to the new data sets. So that was it was interesting. Let's just go with that. We had to create global data models as well as global databases. And these databases had to share data across all countries, because you have an import and you have an export. You have to convert the data from one to the other. Well, after about a decade, it came in the early 2000s, is when we finally started saying that data can transverse without having to be manipulated, which was huge. That was probably one of the largest, from an IT standpoint, one of the largest things we had to deal with over the time. The other large things that we still have to deal with is hacking. people love to hack systems constantly. And so we have to make sure we have the firewalls in place to keep people from hacking into our systems. FedEx at the time, I can't tell you numbers because it's probably not right to tell you numbers online, but the amount of hacking that goes on during a given day to any corporation is not in the hundreds, it's in the tens of thousands of tries. And so you have to have a robust firewall. Your information section, information technology section that governs the security, we call it InfoSec. Those standards have to be taught to every single employee all the time. How do you stay on top of it? How do you understand it? And then we have to build in not only firewalls into the network itself, but every single program and every single database that you have.
That's huge. And that is what you're referring to as innovation, but also dissemination of the data and training to the employees, which is big fields by itself. That's huge. What I have also seen from the huge skills that you have had a multitude of skills just within one segment. Let's say IT. Okay, you come from the business side, but even while we focus on IT, there's a huge set of things. People generally understand, I have taken a course in IT, information technology, and that's enough for me. But here we have a stalwart who has continuously evolved and has a plethora of skills. So can you also throw some light on why was the need to keep on evolving with time?
Technology evolved. And no matter what you do, technologies continue to evolve. It evolves at a faster and faster pace. So the training has to include every single year, multiple training times when people go out. I mean, when we switch from a client server environment to a cloud environment, everybody had to understand VMware. Everybody had to understand how do you float databases out into the not Cosmos, but they call it a cloud. So we had to figure out how to use cloud technology. So client server rapidly moved from the early 2000s to where we were on Sun systems, and then we went to HP systems, and then we went from Oracle systems, and we went to Sybase systems. Once you go to the cloud, as an IT manager or senior manager, I no longer own any of my services. I only own the software that's housed on them. I don't even know where it's housed on them. That change alone in the mindset of managers not being able to put their hands on their hardware was brutal. It took a long time. So that's one of the things we really moved fast with, and I'd say that was one of the biggest hurdles. But you had to stay up with how virtual machines talk to each other, and how data packets and messages went from, you knew exactly how long each package was and what the accepting code was and what the entrance codes were and so on and so forth, to basically streaming where you had no control over it anymore. So, you were talking about somebody taking a general IT courses. Yes, what I've always told people, and I have had the privilege of talking to a lot of young people about this, is focus on a specific style of skill. You don't have to focus on a specific style of software if you don't want to, even though that works as well. But if you want to go into, well, let's keep it with virtual. If you want to go into the VM side of the house, then learn how all the VM software works together, not just the VM software pack you're using. And so, and same thing with database. Don't learn how just to use a tool, a database tool and technology. Learn what a relational database is and how do relational databases work. And it doesn't matter what tool you use after that. But if you try to take all of them in at once, it's going to be hard. Learn them over the years. Change your direction every once in a while. Every 5 years, go, okay, I've learned a lot about this. Maybe I now want to switch organizations and learn a little bit more about this over here. The up and coming thing is information security. Information security has a tremendous amount of tools. Well, the tools change, but what you're trying to accomplish with it doesn't. So learn what you're trying to accomplish in a specific direction, and then stay with that direction long enough to where you think you're capable of going to any department that has that specific direction or capability set. And then focus around and change. It depends on how long you want to stay in an organization or how long you want to float to organizations learning different cultures as well. And you know, but once you learn a specific technology, you can move anywhere you want with that technology. Multiple technologies allow you to move a little better and be able to be used by your company in different facets when they need you to be used.
There's another common notion that people in IT generally sit in a cubicle which is aloof from the world, and they're behind some screens. They need no personal skills. They need no social skills. Here you are, who has interacted, managed, and overlooked many teams, not just people. And in one of the earlier statements that you mentioned was collaborating with people. Can you also highlight on what are the kind of attributes you would look at, you would say that people in this field would need to have to really succeed? And when we talk about succeeding, it's not just small term like couple months contract, but eventually throughout their career. What are the attributes that you think people should have to success?
Communication. You have to understand what your entire team's doing and what your partner teams are doing. Within IT nowadays, you only usually own a small piece of the entire application. Very few major corporations have an IT group that has a specific application that runs a situation or a business process. So you have to communicate across all those different business partners constantly. And nowadays, everybody's moving into Scrum teams. So once you move into the new way, I used to call it project management. It's not project management anymore. You're meeting daily with your team members as well as your partners. Daily. You're making commitments every single morning. What you're going to accomplish that day. And you have to set your mind to, I've got to accomplish this, because you got to come in the next day and actually be able to discuss what I accomplished, what I did not accomplish, what I need help with. And so that has really, I think, helped all the IT organizations. It's actually helping every company now, that we're having not weekly meetings anymore. It is daily meetings. Mm-hmm. And you work together as a group. You will never, I don't say that completely. In today's world in IT, you will not be working by yourself on anything. You'll be working with a team. The team may only be 2 to 3 people, but you will be working on a team. You won't be doing the whole code set. You won't be doing the whole launch of an application by yourself. You won't be doing anything by yourself. That's not the way we get business done anymore. And that's not how you get speed to market. Speed to market, everybody's got to collaborate and everybody's got to move at a pace. You have to set your launch dates every 3 months. Every 3 months, you're launching what is correct. Your testing is happening every single day. You're coding and loading and coding and loading. You have it set at a specific time where the testers can get a hold of the system and they're going to test your code you just installed. And so, and then at the end of, you have a load master, and at the end of that 3 months, they determine what was tested, what was passed, what can we move to the business.
That's wonderful. So you've highlighted not just on communication, but collaboration and intertwining the two to achieve success, not just for yourself, to position yourself, but also for the company, for the goals that you're working for. That's wonderful. While looking, I have known you on a personal level, but if somebody had to look at your resume too, throughout your career, in spite of being so hands-on involved and working so many hours a day, you've always kept on giving, whether socially, community giving, you are involved. I see that as a continuous attribute throughout your career, and not just when you reached a particular position or a pinnacle. What does that mean to you, giving back to the society?
Everything. It is the reason I go to work, because you're never better than your community. So when you get into a community, you need to get into the community, not just in a business sense, but also how can I help?
Mhm.
Where can your skills be utilized in the community? And so even in retirement, I have just retired here lately. I'm already now involved into another organization to where we help people find jobs. We help people make sure food's on the table, make sure they're being trained to go and get jobs. So I've actually preached that to my employees. I didn't just preach it, I took them to places. Because I don't, my management skill was always hands off to the employees, hands on with the business, hands off to the employees. They know skills and they know their job better than I do. So I'm going to give them some insight of what to expect in their job. But I want to make sure they have the tools to do their job. At the same time, to have the tools to do your job, you need to have a fresh outlook, not only at the work, but what are you doing in your community? What everybody else is doing. Usually you're getting your employees from your community. So you really want to work with them as well. So always, 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 when you get out there and you get to a point where you feel, okay, I'm comfortable. Okay, what can I do now? Your community's waiting for you.
That's brilliant. It's a great message, not just for people looking for insights into this particular field, but how to be a good person, even though you're so successful. Because there's a very common trend these days: it doesn't affect me, I'm not going to do it, I'm so busy. So you're shattering all of those myths with a very legendary testimonial that you have been there, done that, and still doing it. So it's impressive. You've spoken about to be a specialist in a field for a particular sector. You've talked about keeping the goal in mind, but the routes could change. You've talked about communicating, whether it's your goals, processes, or the way you're going to do. You've talked about collaboration. You've talked about business processing, and of all the awards that you've received has made you even more humbler, and you're giving. And today you're doing a very big work in grant writing, and bringing that strata of the society, which is underprivileged. So I think hats off to you as a person and to your contribution that's made this stellar company. I know FedEx is doing really big in Europe too, with 50,000 postal codes just to access within Europe, and also hiring a lot of Indian and international students. And it's exciting for students to know that they can be part of this, not just this company, but in the sector or the fields that they choose for, doing a blend of fields like global supply chain and operations management. Gone are the days when there would just be one particular topic to study on, and that would be replicated at every university. Today, there is debt-free education, retaining the quality education at German universities. It's debt-free, and students, you can study subjects, which is a full-blown bachelor's or a master's program like global supply chain and operations management, or international logistics and supply chain management. Why am I talking about this? Because any product you name it in the world, including vaccines, the focus is on how are we bringing to all our brothers and sisters in every part of the world. And that's the challenge to people in Africa and everywhere else. So this is such an important field, and with so many opportunities and so many companies. So if you have the right kind of knowledge, companies would love to hire you. You could be studying operations research and business analytics. At one point, Randy Smith spoke to us about data. and breaking down that data, analyzing it and utilizing it. So you could be studying that. You could also be doing business administration in international trade. Gone are the days when you're just doing MBA in 5, 6 fields. No, you can do international trade, business administration, or global trade management, operations research and business analytics, or project management, media technology, which is IT, but focused towards media, or business intelligence and process management. You can choose these or many more options to choose from, but whatever you do, ensure that you focus on your goal, you focus on people, communication, and in the end, what we thrive on in life is by giving back to the society is how we're going to enrich, is the message that Randy Smith has shared with us. Any last parting words, Randy Smith, for our ECS viewers?
Only, like you said, and like I said, if you're still young and you're still trying to figure out what you're doing, pick a path. Pick a path, study it, but study all the ins and outs of it as well before you commit to it. So don't just go down a path and say, you know, I think I want to do this. Study it. The information's there for you to study it. There is nothing you can't find about any technology or, like you said, global supply chain. You know, you can take apart a global supply chain. Myself, I love it. I've been doing it 35 years and I loved it, every minute of it. The last 10 years, not so much because I was getting old and cranky. But other than that, it is enjoyable. There's a lot you can do, a lot you can learn. But like I've told everybody, take what you've learned and give it to somebody else as well. We teach each other how to be better, not only at work, but also in the community.
What a wonderful message. So if you want to ask anything to Randy Smith, you're more than welcome to write into us at queries@exponentconsultants.com. I repeat, queries@exponentconsultants.com. When you write into us, make sure you're sending in your academic resume with your list of questions. And if there is any question for Randy Smith, he'll be more than happy to answer that and guide you into this field. And you're more than welcome to write into us at any point of time. All emails are answered within 1 business day. So thank you so much once again, Randy Smith, for this brilliant interview. And otherwise, very difficult to find this great being, but he has agreed to do this interview, so it was a pleasure. Thanks, and me and the team ECS wish you the very, very best, and we know that you're doing so much for the society. Thank you for your time to talking to our audience.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.